Say, Lamont, what does your old man do?
It's early. It's early. It's about 8:10 in the morning here, August the 14th, 2017. I'm Teacher Controversy. This is Teacher Controversy Live. Hey, listen. I'm hearing some rumors, man. And not just rumors, it's starting to circulate around on social media a little bit. I expect it to pick up steam. Some people that have told me some things before in the past that have came true are saying that something is in the works. You know, there are some talks going on for Lomachenko versus Rigondeaux, December the 9th in the Garden on ESPN. Now, it's too early for people to be asking, oh, what's the details? What weight is it going to be at? It's just way too early for that. But this is good news. Now, here's what I expect. Follow Rigondeaux's social media over the next month or 2 months. Now, let's see if he's going to be, if he's quiet, right? And he's not attacking, Lomachenko on social media, like he has been over the last, few months. Then that should tell you something is in the works. So let's watch his social media and see, what's going on. Also, he's due for a fight, and honestly, he was ordered to fight Miguel Flores again. Do you want to see that? How will they market that fight, and what network will it be on? So his promoters, his team, his management is in a tough situation where they have to get him a big fight himself. So you can say that, oh, well, Lomachenko was fighting Dominicans, and I'm not going to get into it. I've already talked about why he had to fight Miguel Mariaga. But in this case, something needs to be done, and you can't talk about weight and be mad that Rigondeaux has to move up in order to get this big fight. They have to meet somewhere. 128, can they meet at 128? Rigondeaux is going to be 37 years old, right? His last several fights, right? Even though his fight, against Flores, that was, a fluke. His fight against Jazza Dickens, he broke his jaw. That was a good fight, an exciting fight. Adrian Francisco, I don't believe that was a good fight. The Hasashi Yamagasa fight, that was a good fight. That other guy, did he change his name? He's got a new name now? That wasn't his name, this Yok John guy. That wasn't his name before. He changed his name. Yap Saad Look Nong Young Yang to it, the Koki Gym. Now he's listed as something else, but when he fought that guy, he knocked that guy out. That guy was starfishes, meaning whole, The Joseph Abeko fight is what got him in hot water with Bob Arum and HBO, because during that fight, you had fans getting up and walking out on. Imagine you're watching an HBO telecast, right? An HBO boxing telecast, and you're seeing empty front row seats. This is HBO. This is HBO. You're seeing empty front row seats, and then you're seeing people get up and just walk out. So, but that was back in 2013. Now, if you look at it, nobody wants to see him fight Moises Flores again. And then the guys at 122, don't want to fight him or won't fight him. So now he's in a situation, if he wants to prove how great he is, now he's in a situation where he has to take a risk. He's 30. He's going to be 37, you might as well say. He's at 17 fights. I understand, it took him a while to get over here and everything. But it's now it's really time to start, making some sacrifices. I want to see the fight. So y'all been saying that Lomachenko's been ducking him and all kind of shit like that. Well, listen. If he wants to fight, then he got to make the sacrifice. And don't be bitching, when it comes fighting night to myself, well, he's way too big for him. Listen, the fight's got to happen. What's interesting, what I want to know is, I want to know what his contract is with Rock Nation, because Rock Nation has been rumored to be on their way out of the sport of boxing. Did you notice they're not signing any fighters? They haven't been putting on any cards. Their pay-per-view flopped horribly. They haven't been, even when they tried to sign up big-name fighters, they were kind of blacklisted by Al Heyman. So I'm wondering, and then we haven't seen, have we seen Rock Nation and Top Rank work together? But in this case, will it be, is Guillermo Rigondeaux's co-promoter still Khalid Promotions or something? So it's going to be interesting to see, this fight get made. But it should be nothing to stop this fight. Because Lomachenko, he doesn't have options, because the other fighters in his division won't fight him. Or if they won't fight him, they're aligned with Golden Boy, and Golden Boy and Top Rank have this little thing going on right now, even though they're both on ESPN. And what's up with WBC champion Miguel Burchuk? Is he Golden Boy? He's not listed on the website, because if Lomachenko can get him, then that'd be a unification. That'd be a unification. But is HBO invested in Burchuk now? He has the last 2 fights. Remember Francisco Vargas, the fight he wasn't supposed to win, and then Takashi Miura, where he retired him. So is it a situation where, HBO is paying him and investing in him and he can't go over to ESPN? Remember, all Bob Arum fighters are gone from ESPN. Another thing about the Lomachenko ratings thing. Why is see, this is what I've learned about like YouTube media, or just not, you can't call them media because it's like, how can I say, I've learned, like when you say certain shit, when you get to the level that I'm at now, even though I'm not at no level, I'm not putting myself on no pedestal, but when you get to a point where you're getting access to fights and you have to, your job is to report on fights to get access to this fight, you got to be careful with a lot of the shit you say, and you really got to do your best to talk about all sides, even though you have a short time frame of video to do that. So I noticed, like, when people talk about the ratings for the ESPN and how it did only 250K, they don't talk about how, like, the Lomachenko fight was heavily streamed on the ESPN app. Did great numbers on the app. They don't talk about how the NFL, Hall of Fame speeches was hella long, and that main event came on extra late on a Saturday night when, it should have been on like 10, 11 p.m. or so. It was like 12 something that shit came on, So, they don't talk about how, like, the first half of the card was on ESPN too. So, in a sense, it wasn't a flop. It just was fucked up shit that was going on. I'm sure Bob Arum was pissed, but at the same time, that you got to expect that as ESPN. Baseball games be on, they run over late sometimes, and they tell you at the little bottom ticker, switch over to ESPN2 or switch over to ESPN News to continue to watch this, and then after this goes off, we're going to switch over to here. But one thing for sure is a lot of people, okay, if you have ESPN, you have the ESPN app. If you have ESPN, if you're watching it, then you have access to the ESPN app, period. So, I've noticed, like, during the whole night, social media was, on fire. Like, yo, we trying to watch the fight and everything. And I was replying to people telling them, like, yo, go watch it on the ESPN app. They're like, we don't have that. Nigga, you got, excuse my language. You got ESPN. You got the ESPN app. A lot of people, you'd be surprised, a lot of boxing fans didn't know that you can go on your phone, go to ESPN3, download the app, ESPN, what's it called? Watch ESPN. Download that. You can watch it on your phone. You can watch it on your Xbox, your PlayStation. You can Chromecast that shit. So I noticed they don't talk about that. But if the fight was going to happen, let's stay on topic. Rigondeaux's in a tough situation because let me go look at the landscape real quick to be sure of something. He's in a tough situation because he's going to have to fight Flores to, lose his belt. Or, if he drops his belt, moves up to 130, he'll be jumping over a whole weight division now. But those guys at 126, like Leo Santa Cruz, and Gary Russell said he want that work again. There's fights out there for Rigondeaux, man, but he's just got to start taking those risks and beating these guys to be the A-side. He's asking for outrageous money when he never made that outrageous money before. And people always talk about his fights boring. His fights haven't been boring. I'm a huge Rigondeaux supporter, but looking at the political situation he's in, he's going to be 37. It's time now to start making some moves and showing your greatness, even if you got to move up those weight classes. He's supposed to be so good. Now, we know he's a small dude. He's a small dude, but I'm all for him, meeting Lomachenko at 128. Or fuck it, if you're a real G, then go to 130. Put that 6 pounds on. Remember, Mayweather went to 4. Well, wait a minute. No, he was at 150. But still, hey, don't catch weighted. Say, all right, you can be at 130. I'm going to weigh in at 128. You can be at 130, Bring in a good, solid, nice, clean strength and conditioning coach. Put on some muscle a little bit the right way. We got to fight, man. We got to fight. And Lomachenko, unless it's Orlando Salido again. See, people would be cool if he fight Orlando Salido. they'd be like, okay, all right, he avenging that loss. But if he fights anybody else, yo, motherfuckers not trying to see that shit. It's not going to be Gervonta Tank Davis. It's not going to be just Real Corrales, even though people, even if that is a unification, people don't want to see it. You know, I'll condone Miguel Burchell, but can they get him? Anybody else in the 130-pound division, nobody wants to see. You know, they got a wild card in Lomachenko moving to 135 and fighting Ray Beltran. He fight Ray Beltran. He can be Robert Easter's mandatory. He could be Jorge Linares or Mikey Garcia, Luke Campbell mandatory. You know, or he could be Terry Flanagan mandatory. You know, the WBO will make him mandatory. So he's got some options, but that'll mean him moving up another weight class and getting further away from Rigondeaux. So if he moves to 135, then that Rigondeaux fight is done. You know, so this is the time. They got to make it now. So that's why I said when it came to the Mariaca fight, you can't say that he ducked Rigondeaux when Rigondeaux had just fought, what, June the 17th, and the Mariaca fight was on August the 5th. But if something doesn't go right this time, you know, then it's like, yo, somebody's to blame. Because y'all gotta come to some shit. So it's like, Rigondeaux, stop calling him out if you're not going to move up in weight. Or Lomachenko, you know, you and your team, y'all got to make some type of, if he says he's going to move up in weight, and if the money is reasonable, you know, then it's like, yo, you know. But anyway, I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Please subscribe. Oh, let me point out one more thing. Lomachenko was offered a career high payday, from my understanding, $720,000 by Top Rank to fight Lomachenko on ESPN. Both Terence Crawford and Julius Ndongo is making $1 million plus, $1 million or $1 million plus each. So you can't tell me that the money isn't there for Rigondeaux to get a career high payday versus Lomachenko on ESPN. And my God, if they bring us that, if Top Rank delivers that, you know, so far ESPN, you know, with Pacquiao Horn, right? Then they brought Lomachenko, even though it's going to be Lomachenko Salido. Imagine if it was Pacquiao Horn, Lomachenko Salido. Then you got Crawford versus Ndongo. Then you got Gilberto Ramirez versus Jesse Hart, right? Right, for that WBO. And then if you have like Lomachenko versus Rigondeaux, whatever fight they mix in, yo, that's a nice run for ESPN. That's a nice run for Top Rank and ESPN. Then Pacquiao Horn 2 on regular free TV ABC. Anyway, I'm Teacher Controversy. This is Teacher Controversy Live. Please subscribe. All links to my social media are right down below in the description box. I gotta switch that up. You know, I'm sick of saying that. I gotta say some other shit now. Please subscribe.